Hello, it's great to be back with you at AI Connect. It's astonishing how much is going on with AI, and I'm here to guide you through what really matters. Well, actually, I'm not. I'm going to hand you over to my human counterpart, David. Where are you? Oh, there you are.
Welcome, everybody. It's almost like I didn't trust Tomek to introduce me, so I got my digital version to create a video just in case something went wrong. But I was delighted to have the opportunity to come here in person and talk about AI and everything that's changing. So what we'll do for the next 35, 40 minutes is take you through what's happening in AI. And the first thing I want to say to people is it's hard to keep up with AI. So don't feel bad if you're intimidated by it. It's natural. There's so much going on that it's virtually impossible to keep up with it. And the fact that you've taken time out today to come and learn puts you ahead of most people. So you should congratulate yourself for that. And even if you only remember 10% of what I tell you in the next half hour, you're still way ahead of everybody else. So that's a really good way to spend your evening with us. Now, we could get all philosophical and talk about what AI actually is. And most experts, the only thing they agree on is they don't agree on a definition of AI. So I'm not going to spend time on that because I believe that AI is different things to different people. There is no one good definition of it. So it's not a good use of time to even think about it. But for anybody who had any remaining doubts about just how important AI is, I would imagine that what you've seen in the news this week has two of the Nobel Prizes go to AI researchers. So the Nobel for chemistry and for physics has both gone to the contribution of AI. Now, I had the honor of presenting at this conference last year. And even if you weren't there, the amount of change in the last 12 months is incredible. So a year ago, we were talking primarily about the advent of this new technology, generative AI. And it was new and exciting, but we weren't really very clear on what it was or what it could do. And all of the emphasis over that time has been on ChatGPT, on Copilot, and on how there was a race to make ever bigger models. And we've also started to worry. So there's probably some of you here today who are a little bit worried about AI and where it might end up. And we've seen the first moves towards regulation and putting governance in place to control AI and make sure that we use it responsibly. So aside from the technology, we have to also think about the human factors and how AI is going to impact us. Now, over the last 12 months, it has been a time of relentless announcements. If you follow technology, you'll see announcements on a daily basis. And I know that even while we're here today, there are big events happening in the US where more AI is going to be unveiled. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, because it means when I go home tonight, I have to update my slides because I can't give the same talk again, because everything is changing so fast. But we've seen so much over the last 12 months or so. We've seen the growth of text-to-video models, the fact that you can type in a text and get video. So just like the introductory video that we played, that was generated by AI without any special skills and without any cost, which is a game changer for so many industries and businesses. One of the slightly technical things we'll talk about later, large context windows. So what does that mean when the models are getting larger input capabilities? You'll maybe have seen that ChatGPT has been upgraded to version 4.0. Everybody thought that 5 was going to come next after 4, but the O stands for Omni, which means it goes beyond just processing text. And we've also seen the advent of conversational AI. So actually being able to talk to an AI in a natural conversational way. And one thing that you can be sure IT people love is creating acronyms. So along with the relentless announcements, we've had a relentless flood of new acronyms. But we're not going to get very technical today. I'll probably throw in 2 or 3 new acronyms, but this isn't about the technology. If anybody wants to ask any questions afterwards, happy to get more technical. But for me, AI isn't about the technology. It's about the capabilities that it gives us. And that's going to be what we'll focus on. Because as I talk to organizations about AI, they tell me they feel like they're on a tightrope, trying to balance moving fast, not being left behind, not missing out on opportunities, but also, how do they do it safely? When is the right time to start using AI? And what should you start using AI for? So they're the things that we'll focus on. And again, as I said at the start, it's okay if you're feeling intimidated by how AI is coming. And I thought this headline summed things up quite well, where people feel the two extremes. They feel panic, but they also feel possibility about what AI is going to mean. And I also wanted just to dispel some myths. So I've dealt with a number of organizations who say, we don't want to use AI. However, you cannot realistically ban AI, because as this survey shows, people, if you ban it in the workplace, they will just go home and use it on their own computers. So any organization that thinks they can avoid AI are kidding themselves. People will find a way. The technology is too powerful to ignore, and it's too easy to use. There are no barriers to entry for people. And what it means is that companies need to figure out what they're going to do with AI. And I thought this was an interesting chart. So this is from the financial services industry. And they asked organizations, where were they at in terms of their thinking about AI? And I was able to draw a line and say it's actually 50-50 between the organizations who are thinking about it and the organizations who are actually doing something. And I think it's fine wherever you are on that spectrum. You don't have to be at the cutting edge. The only people on that graph that are wrong are the 5% who are doing nothing, because that is not a viable strategy. AI is too important to ignore. And just going back to what I said about the definition of AI, any of you who are familiar with The Lord of the Rings will know the central concept that there's one ring to rule them all. AI isn't like that. So AI is all sorts of different shapes and sizes, different possibilities. And people tend to think that AI is one thing that they can either use or not use, but it really isn't. It's made up of a huge amount of variation and technologies. And a lot of people also think that AI is ChatGPT, and it's not. ChatGPT is just one model. And if you do a quick count of how many other models are out there, there's at least 150 other models there. So it's not just a singular solution where you say, oh, I'm going to use AI and I'm going to pick a model and that's going to do everything that I want. So I tend to break down AI into, there's really just 3 types of AI to think about. And the first type is the invisible AI. That's the AI that you get without doing anything. It's the AI that companies like Microsoft and Google and Salesforce are adding to the products that you already use. It's just there. You may not even have noticed it. It's just another option that's appeared in the app. The second type is an AI that's very good at a single purpose. It's a ready-made, off-the-shelf solution that you can just start using. So, like the video that we played at the beginning, I used an AI to generate the video, I used another AI to generate the music, and I used yet another AI to do the digital version of me. So these are task-specific AIs that you can just use. They're services that you can subscribe to. You don't need any expertise to use them. They're ready for use now, and they have massive productivity benefits. And the third type of AI is where you do custom solutions. And like all other types of software, these are the more complex and more costly things. And they're not for everyone. So one of the other ways that I try and make sense of AI for people is say, well, there's really 2 ways of looking at how you approach AI. There's what are you going to do about it now? What can you do when you go to work tomorrow? What's going to make a difference? And the other horizon to consider is what you're going to do next. What might AI do for you next year? So my advice to companies is don't try and do everything at once. Don't just say, oh, we're going to set up a team, we're going to do AI, and we'll be finished the project in 3 months. It doesn't work like that. There are particular types of approach that you might want to take, where you'll say, I'd like to do a digital video now, and maybe next year we'll go deeper and use more types of AI in the organization. So again, the advice, don't try and do all of AI in one go. Break it down and have a business objective for each reason that you use it. And just to stay on the concept of what you can do now for a minute, I want to talk about the fact that the literacy, the understanding around what AI can do is now the #1 skill that business leaders need. They need to understand the potential impact of AI on their business, and not to think of the business as a single entity. Different departments within the same business will move at a different pace, and that's okay. There are certain solutions that make absolute sense to deploy now, maybe in your marketing team or your L&D team. But some of the other teams in the business might want to hold off a little longer. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. But perhaps the most important thing is not to think of AI as an IT problem. It's not something like previous digital transformation projects you may have been involved with. It's not something that AI can manage. It has to come from the business. It has to be a business driver. Why are you going to deploy it? You're going to deploy it because it helps you do better business. And that's not IT's responsibility. And it's also important to be realistic about deploying AI. It's not easy to get it right. And I thought this survey was quite sobering. And if you asked companies who got caught up in the hype and moved to use AI too soon, they found it wasn't ready. So again, taking that now horizon and the next horizon, focus on the AI that's ready, that works, and can deliver real business benefit to you straight away. And keep an eye on what's coming later. Because AI is far from perfect. As wonderful and capable as today's solutions are, they're not necessarily fully mature yet. We're still very early in the AI journey. So what we need to do is we need AI to get better. We need to improve the things about it that we know don't work. And the biggest problem that people face when they start deploying AI is they discover the shortcomings of it. So we need AI to have better data. And I know it sounds a little bit boring when you think about how exciting AI can be, but all AI is dependent on the quality of the data that goes into it. You cannot escape that. So we need better data, and we will get better AI as a result. And this last point on the slide is we need to get better, not just the technology. We need to change our mindset, change how we perceive the role of technology. We need to reset our relationship with technology and think differently. Things that we never thought AI would be ready to do, it is ready. And that's quite a challenge if you've never considered that AI can actually do certain tasks. But but suddenly it can, and it can do them really well, really fast, and really cheaply. So the main focus, I think that if I'm often asked to pull out, what are the real insights that have changed in recent times? Because a number of people looked at AI 12 months ago, had a few hours of fun talking to ChatGPT, and then decided, actually, this isn't really serious. This isn't going to have a massive impact on my business. So there are 3 areas that I think are important, and that's going beyond the training data. So ChatGPT doesn't know about how your business works, your products, your challenges, because it's been trained on the internet. And that's not useful. So you need a way to go beyond those limitations. You also need to be aware that AI isn't all about who has the biggest model. We've moved on from that now, and we have introduced, so we've started with large language models. Now we've moved on and we have medium language models and small language models as well. So we need to get better at matching the AI to its purpose, rather than using the same big AI over and over again. We also need to rethink AI in terms of what's called multimodal. So AI that works not just as a chatbot, that works with images, that works with sound. And then the part that is also really important, the regulation and the governance. So I'll just talk briefly about each one of them. And from a training data point of view, in preparation for talking to you today, I asked ChatGPT what data it had been trained on and how up to date it was. And I was a bit surprised at how out of date it is. So it doesn't know about current events. We need a way to extend the data set that it has. And there's 3 key ways that we can do that now. New technologies that have emerged in the last few months, because there's billions of dollars being poured into making AI better. So the first one is RAG. That was when I warned you that there would be 1 or 2 new acronyms thrown in today. RAG is one of them. And there's also the emergence of large context windows. And the last point is one that we could spend the whole day on, and that's the emergence of augmented models that you may hear referred to as agents. And that's a really exciting part of AI that's coming soon. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And there will be a test later on when you go up and ask for a drink during the break. If you don't know what RAG stands for, they won't serve you. So it's really important to remember. And essentially what RAG lets you do is put your own data into the model. So that solves the problem of models that don't know your business. And then you have large context windows. And in simple terms, what large context windows means is you can ask bigger questions of AI. So with GPT-4 last year, you could only put in a quite small amount of data for your question. So you could give it a PDF file and ask it to summarize it, but it couldn't work on big files. But the latest Gemini models from Google have a huge context window. So you can actually now upload a full hour of video and ask the model to analyze it and pick out just one frame out of the entire hour. So it opens up a huge number of new potential use cases. And the last topic to go beyond the data of AI is connecting large language models to other systems so that the large language model can act as an agent on your behalf and complete actions. So not just answer questions, but actually complete entire tasks for you. And that's probably the hottest buzz in the industry at the moment, is agentic AI. But it is an industry that likes to get carried away, let's be honest. And it's been through this hype that as it's built bigger and bigger large language models, so ChatGPT 3.5 was bigger than 3, 4 was bigger again. And I think we've now reached the point where people are wondering, maybe we're big enough and we don't need to keep making all the models bigger and bigger and bigger. And we reach this point of diminishing returns. And the way I like to make sense of this is, imagine you were delivering a pizza. You don't get a truck or a tank to deliver a pizza. You get a scooter or a drone. You get something that's the right size for the task. And what we're doing right now when we deploy a large language model for every task, it's using a truck to deliver a pizza, and it's not smart. So the emergence of smaller models is really important. And the great thing about smaller models is they hallucinate less. So they make up better answers than the large models. And they're better for the environment. So the smaller models are more efficient because the big models are very resource intensive. And that's not sustainable. But for anyone who's worried about me saying that models are going to get smaller, fear not. There's plenty of innovation happening on the big models as well. And they're moving, again, IT industry love to add acronyms, so they're moving to architectures now that are known as MOE, or mixture of experts. So you will continue to see the large models getting bigger and more powerful. But on the multimodal side, so moving beyond processing text, what can AI do for us there? And a critical thing that people keep forgetting about multimodal models is they can not only produce nice images out, but you can put images in to be analyzed, opening up a huge variety of new use cases for AI. And among those use cases, you can do things like you can upload a chart and ask AI to analyze and pull trends out of graphs that you never really understood before. But as an example of how good these models are getting, I asked AI to create a picture of a 30-year-old woman with dark hair presenting at a technical conference. And I thought it was quite a nice image that came back. But it's not realistic. You wouldn't be fooled into thinking that she was real. So I asked another model that was optimized for realistic images. And it gave me this image back. Now, it's photorealistic, right down to being able to see her hair and little strands of it sticking out. But I wasn't finished then. I said, I wonder, could I animate and turn her into a video? So literally with 2 words. Now, I was writing a book about prompt engineering, so this is not my finest ever prompt. I literally said, animate this. So super short, imprecise prompt. But the result that it gave me back was a 10-second video of that still. And the level of detail in it, that as she walks across the stage, you can even see the light catching on her necklace. And the only giveaway that it's a fake video was the quality of the screen behind her. But being able to create photorealistic images and videos, that brings us to our final topic. And that's, how do we control this? And there's 2 sides to this. So we have to talk about the internal side, So how are we going to have the right governance and controls in place in our organizations? And what are we going to do in terms of regulation? And the EU has been the most proactive jurisdiction in the world in terms of regulating AI. And it's led to conflict, real conflict that affects consumers. So both Apple and Meta have withheld their latest AI tools from European consumers because they're trying to figure out what compliance with the regulation means. And what we're going to see is, as the AI Act from the EU, which came into force, you might have been on holidays in August when they launched it, but it came into force on the 1st of August. And it's binding. It's a legal requirement that if you use AI, that you have to comply with its restrictions. So it has been described, I talked to a lawyer about it, and he said, look, think of it as GDPR on steroids. It's far bigger and more complicated than GDPR was. And we all know that was not the easiest thing to implement. But one of the points that I always stress, as great as I think it is that you've taken the time to add to your knowledge about AI, it's not all about what we as business leaders choose to do. Consumers will adopt this technology and they will point it at our businesses. And we have to be ready for that. So it's not just about our choices. It is also about what consumers will do. Now with that, I'll wrap up and just summarize those critical points about how you can keep up with this. As I said, if you only take away 10% of everything you hear, you're still doing far better than most people. But it's really important to think about AI not as a single entity. Think about it in terms of what it can do for you right now, what can you use tomorrow to be more productive. And then where is it going? Start thinking more strategically about how it's going to change your business and how it's going to change your life, how you're going to be able to use it professionally and personally. And keep in mind that AI is evolving at the incredible pace. There are billions and billions of dollars being poured into it every week to make it better. And it's getting better. So even if you're a bit cynical or skeptical about the power of AI, you need to keep an eye on how quickly it's evolving and make sure that you're staying compliant, both internally, that your organization is using AI responsibly, and that you're aware of the regulations in whatever jurisdictions you operate in. So I hope that's given you an idea about what's happening in the AI space. If you have any questions at any point, I'm around for the evening and be delighted to meet you. So feel free to reach out, connect on LinkedIn if you do have any questions. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. I know there's some super sessions coming. This was really just the warm-up act. So I hope you enjoy the time here, and thank you for coming to AI Connect.